The Accidental Entrepreneur is produced by Bindhacker Law and brought to you through our affiliate relationships with the following sponsors. One of One Productions, the New Jersey-based podcast studio that produces and edits both audio and video podcasts. They sell equipment for the average podcaster and have even created a guesting kit exclusively for our listeners. North Authentic, the conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. The Healthy Place, the e-commerce site with thousands of supplements to help you live a healthier life, along with natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
No. Foundations and stuff like that. So those people, you know what I mean, so there's like, a piece that can go for every day that, like I said, really hits their core values, hits what they're doing. And then if they're doing a specific keynote speech, then we can do something that really addresses that.
Okay.
Like for everyday use, any of these people. And like I say, the keynote speakers, most of them have a particular thing about mindset or about one thing or another, and that's how we get to that. And that's the most important thing that people notice about you and know you for and hire you for. And what do people know can come to your company for? And what's that about? And so, we do this in a certain way. Again, not necessarily a jingle. It might have your name in there, but it's not going to be 9, 6, 7, 11.
Right, of course.
I'm trying to get a little deeper than that, as well as just, musically.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Bindhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hi, I'm Howie Moscovitch from Made to Order Music. We amplify brand awareness, recognition, and retention with custom theme songs and instrumentals. We work with companies, associations, solopreneurs, keynote speakers, and podcasters. We also create custom theme songs for special events.
Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. I'm Mitch Bindhacker, your host. We have a very unique guest who's become a good friend of mine to talk to us today about music that you can use on your podcast and videos for your business and so forth. Before we get started, though, I want to remind you, if you're listening on your favorite platform, be sure to give us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to the channel and like the video so we can keep bringing you good content and good conversations like my one today. So Howie, I want to welcome you. Howie Moscovitch from Made to Order Music is joining us, and he's going to tell a story. Howie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Okay, so maybe you want to go back to talk about, kind of where you're from, where you grew up, your interest in music, and how you got to where you are. We'll take it through that way. We got good 45 minutes to an hour.
Sure. I've been doing music since I was 4 years old. And,
okay.
So I started with piano lessons, etc. Ended up being guitar lessons because I wanted to get into bands and be cool. And ended up going to music school. And ended up working with lots of different bands and writing songs, etc. for them. And worked going from Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada to Toronto for a long time and doing a lot of different music there. And somewhere along the line, maybe about 13 or 14 years ago, I heard that Nashville, Tennessee was like the Olympics of songwriting. And so
Okay.
down
It
there,
is, right? Yeah.
and it is kind of. And so I went down there maybe for 3 years, 3 times a year, and started meeting people there, and eventually publishers said, hey, we can get you in if you do this very difficult process of coming through and getting visas, work visas. So I went back home and spent about a year and a half getting my first O1 visa, and came here eventually in 2011, and ended up getting 4 visas, and eventually got my green card last year. So very proud of that.
Okay. How long did that take, that whole process?
Well, the process of getting the green, each of those were 3-year, visas.
Took a while.
But the green card I only started to do after I got the 4th visa. And somebody said, I thought it was going to be more difficult than it is, because there's very high standards as far as this particular, O1 visa is concerned. And, it's why would you want to have another guitar player, producer, writer, in Nashville?
I don't think they look at it that way. Yeah.
So they don't look at that way. So you're basically going through Homeland Security and having to prove yourself every time.
Right. But do they give preference to Canadian citizens? I mean, we're just border countries, right? We're like brother and sister.
Somewhat, but I mean, it's pretty much like a definite difficulty process.
So it's the same as if you're coming from overseas versus here.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I had all kinds of people who I was working with who had Grammys and Academy Awards and stuff like that, who I do production with and write with, and they all were very kind and wrote letters on my behalf, and continuously wrote letters on my behalf. And,
I see.
I kind of used their fame to help me get through.
Right. So when was that? When did you get to Nashville then with your full green card?
2011 was when I came here, and I lived here for about 10 and a half years, and finally got the green card last year. So I've been here now
just recently, but you've been here since 2011.
Yeah, so I'm almost coming up on 12 years in January.
Okay, and you've always been a choreographer for, not a choreographer, a writer?
Yes.
Composer?
I was thought that I was going to do music for film and for television, cop shows. I thought that would be perfect for me, putting together both your, my interest in classical and jazz and rock and funk music, etc.
Right.
And do all of that. But it ended up being, like I said, working in bands that did all kinds of different music, and then coming down here, just working with all kinds of different artists, pretty much every single style of pop music, including hip hop and R&B and dance and rock and jazz, etc.
So are you working with artists that might write their own lyrics, but they need to put it to music, or both?
I usually write with people, both. But most often when I'm, that's my other company. My made-to-order company is particularly for businesses, etc.
Right,
and that's only started in the last 2.5, 3 years. The other one is, I work with publishers and with record companies, etc., and work with their artists, and I still am doing that. But this is a new venture that's, broadening my horizons.
Sure, now you're a real entrepreneur.
And yes, and also it's similar process. When I work with an artist, I have to ask the psychiatric questions of, how does this make you feel, and what kind of songs do we want to write? And when I'm working with a company, I'm talking about their core values and getting down to how, who's our target audience,
right?
How do we want to represent ourselves, and what's the best way to do that? And, of course, them also putting in, somebody's going to come to me and they have a particular style of music that they're already doing. And I may, this is with the artist, and I may suggest that, I hear your voice and you can do something else. The same way with a company, we can say, well, this is what you've been doing so far. Maybe we can do something different, or do something that's new, but the same, same old.
Right.
And, they may already have with the company, branding slogans and stuff that are already in existence.
Right.
And so I can either use those in an entirely new way, or come up with something new. If I'm writing a song that has lyrics for them, then they're not only getting a song, but they're getting these lyrics that can be used in their written, any of them.
Right. Incorporated. I think people don't realize that music can be a logo, that there are such things as sonic logos. There's sounds that we recognize.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Right. Exactly.
Those are things that so, when I do the piece, if it's a 2.5, 3 minute song, that's something that can be used, at your annual meeting or something, or if you're also a keynote speaker, you come out on stage and you've got this, piece of music that explains all this stuff in a certain way. But I can cut it up into 4 other pieces so that I'm doing something for Sportel Monaco. It's happening in October.
Got it.
And so, a big media thing for sports people from around the world, broadcasters and channels, etc., as well as their managers and the athletes. So I'm calling it The Biggest, the Best. And so the song's all about that. And I'll have a whole song with this female vocalist and a rapper in the middle of it. But I will chop it up. And the one little part, I'm not the singer, but the biggest, the best is like, the hook in the chorus.
Right.
And so I'm going to chop up a little tiny 2-second piece like that. And so anytime somebody calls the phone, and this could be for your business, the one little hook of that becomes something that can, anytime somebody calls that. And then there's a 10-second piece that might just have the first half of the chorus. And that could be something that anytime that somebody goes to the website and changes a page on the website, they can use that. So it becomes more than just one piece. It becomes 4 different pieces that can be used in a whole lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And for different, and like I say, any of those bits of lyrics may become new branding slogans that can be used.
Yeah, I think people psychologically recognize sound more than they recognize, because unless you're IBM and Microsoft and Apple, you're a small company, you don't have really a brand, but sounds people really connect with and they remember.
Well, I think, it's almost proven that sounds are even better than, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but people will remember sounds. There are people with autism, there are people with, Alzheimer's disease who, get brought back because they're listening to songs that they remember. Somebody sings this song, they can't remember the name of their, their spouse or their family, members. But if they hear a song from 50 years ago that they knew, and
still in there,
sing it, they remember and they can sing the whole song along. So it's proven that, So, it's much more memorable. And if you're using this, like I said, when somebody comes to your website or to calls your phone, and the first thing they hear on waiting is this little 2-second or 10-second piece, that's what they're going to be associating your company with. And they might be remembering that little bit of music because I'm writing pop music, which is specifically meant to be catchy and like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So so they might, that's the beginning of your funnel, in a certain way. And it can be the beginning of your funnel everywhere else that you're doing any kind of advertising. And people definitely remember those little, things like the McDonald's one I mentioned before. So, it's a definite way of getting people to recognize and remember your brand.
Now, do you find that business owners are harder to work with than performers, music people, or easier?
I think it's almost the same.
Oh, it's almost the same?
I'm aiming for the same kind of perfection every time.
Right.
And, anything I do and put out there has to be, something that both parties are going to want to use for a long, long time.
Right.
Hopefully with a singer, or whatever, a singer rapper or something, they're going to be, hopefully singing this song for the rest of their life. And they're the ones that have to go on stage and sell them, I don't really sell it, but, give a great performance of that song and still be behind it 100%, especially if it goes big for them. Because there's a lot of artists, the very famous artists who talk about, do they want to sing their songs? Does David Bowie want to sing Changes? He's not around anymore, but does he want to sing a song that made him famous in 1976, in the year 2002? But of course, the audience is going, sing that song.
Right, because they recognize,
because they recognize it and they love it. That's why they became fans of it.
Yeah.
So the same thing for companies who are trying to find something, and unless they're going to do something, like I said, the events, the special events where it's something new, or a keynote speaker. A keynote speaker could have a particular, if they have, one thing that they do normally. then
Right.
you can give them an all-purpose kind of song that really represents them. The same way with a company. If they have a particular thing that they do, we can come up with a song that they can use for 10 years. But each year they may have an annual meeting or a conference or something like that that brings all kinds of people together, and they may have a very specific theme for that. And so, we can get into something that's very specific for that as well. So keynote speakers can come to me and have their specific, their one thing that they utilize all the time, but a very specific one for a keynote speech. It's for one particular
Got it.
Year or
yeah. So you said you've been working with the business community for about 2-3 years now, you said?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
How did that come about? Did you fall into it, or did you like, oh, well, we can do this for businesses?
It was something that somebody had mentioned, and I thought this could be very interesting and, excuse me, lucrative.
Right. No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And musicians by themselves, record companies have some sort of, clout and some sort of budget, but musicians by themselves are not that, well.
Right. Not all of them, right?
Not all of them, you know what I mean? And so, to be able to work with them, is something that I love to do, but this is, like I say, almost the same process, and for me, almost the same kind of thing that I'm doing, and I'm telling somebody's story in a way. So it's satisfying for me, and I get to do music that I love. So it kind of came in as something I started up at the end of 2019, and then 2020 came along, and it became something that became my major focus, because musicians were not doing these things anymore, and were not, were not able to do some of the recordings that we were having set up for the, there was an artist I was working with in Germany, an artist I was working with in Italy. We had everything set up for March of 2020.
And everything shut down.
Everything shut down, and they had no gigs anymore. And it wasn't something that was feasible for them anymore. So all of a sudden, I'm talking to, businesses, and some of them are essential, and some of them never slept a bit, never stopped, for a beat, pun intended.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, and kept on going, and some of them got stronger. During the pandemic, just because of the fact that they were,
what industry they're in and whatever, they're resilient and they pivoted, whatever, right?
Yeah, and they were available, and they were still considered, something that was essential. So their business actually grew. And so that's been, something that's interesting. And of course, with all the Zoom meetings and all of the networking that's gone on, I find myself having done almost more of that during this particular time, because everybody has either been off work or had time to do this. And because of Zoom and that advent of all these new networking events.
Yeah, you just jump from meeting to meeting to meeting. It was easy.
Exactly. I can meet with 4 people from around the world in the same day. And it might have taken me, 4 months to do that in live events in Nashville to meet people at, the old school. So that has been hyper accelerated. And so I found myself meeting all these people.
And you could do work for people around the world now without even leaving your house almost.
I always have.
Studio.
I have been for 10 years, actually. The world caught up. I've been working with, and I just mentioned those people in Italy, but also South Africa, like Australia, anyway, like just all over India. For the last 10 years, I've been doing projects around the world.
Online?
Skype, it
was mostly Skype, right? I was going to say that. What was there?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp has video conference capabilities.
Yes. So I write songs on WhatsApp with people for the last 7 years or so, because almost everybody in Europe and Asia.
They use WhatsApp, right?
So that was something, and then Zoom just came up, and then there are alternatives to Zoom as well, including FaceTime and other ones.
Meetings now and Google. Google Meets or Hangouts or whatever it's called.
Exactly. So, so that's become much, and all the people who are now doing online businesses are starting to get it, because they didn't realize that I was, this is something I've been doing for the longest time, because I don't want to be held down to just people who are in Nashville. Right. I can be working with people from all around, who speak different languages and stuff like that, et cetera. So it's a wonderful thing. Technology is a wonderful thing for getting these things done.
Yeah, it's definitely expanded. I was talking to a guy this morning who's in, he's in digital marketing and things like that. And he's able to now work with people all over when before, it wasn't really online like it is nowadays. And I guess that's a silver lining to the pain and suffering that some people went through during the pandemic. The world's become a much smaller place. Well, I've been able to interview people all over the world on the podcast. I never would have done that. It would have always been local. I never really thought about even doing it, online.
Yeah. And now, it seems to be almost, the people maybe, not going back to brick and mortar establishments and stuff like that.
Yeah, in some cases, right. They'll never go back.
And they may never, or they're at least doing, a couple of days at the establishment and then coming, having more time with their family. And so I think that's, going to become the norm. In a certain way, and conventions, I've been doing stuff for conventions and they're coming back because I don't think you can quite get that the same, but I don't think that people are going to, do the $5 million and bringing 200 people from Japan to New York.
Right.
They may still, but they're not going to do it 3 times a year.
Right.
For a company when they realize that they can still do, hybrid conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, where they could have 50 people on a Zoom call from around the world and have to spend money to fly them in.
And put them up in, hotels and all those
meals
things.
And the whole thing. Yeah.
And the whole thing. And every night going out to a different place to get to the.
Right. Then they're not in the office and Yeah.
So those things. So, I imagine that a lot of those places will be, downscaling, and I guess the projection is that some of the downtown areas and the places where a lot of these places, brick and mortar places are, will start to have another fall in a certain.
Yeah, sure. There's going to be a change in maybe more residential living, I guess, hybrid type of stuff. Now, Nashville's a hot town, though. Nashville's
like hot. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 in the nation as far as people coming per day. And that's been for the last 2 years. So yes, it's filling up like crazy. And there are, new Amazon companies as well as, of course, people coming to do music as well.
Right. It's not just music, even though it's the music capital of the world. I read maybe it was before the pandemic. There was a point where there were more sky cranes in Nashville than like any other place except like Dubai. There was so much building going on in that city.
But in a certain way, and I came from Toronto to live here. They say that Nashville is the biggest little town you ever, the biggest.
Right, because everybody's from another place, right?
Well, yeah, but it's also because it's still kind of like, you do something, bad or whatever, and the word gets out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like everybody's your aunt and everybody's, your neighbors are all watching.
They all hear about it. Yeah.
It's a community in a certain way, in a small community. So there's some really nice things about that as well, in terms of getting to know people and having people to work with and stuff that are very loyal in a certain way. And so there's that. But like I say, it is becoming huge in other ways.
Yeah. All right, I'm getting off the topic. I don't mean that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, but that's it.
No, I could talk about Nashville for a long time, but I was going to ask you though about your business. So and even on the composer side, how do you run your business? Like, do you have strategic marketing plans? Do you just so many people that people keep calling you for business? What do you do?
Well,
here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to get into podcasting? Maybe to market your business for your own enjoyment or because you have a message you want to get out there. One of One Productions is a New Jersey-based studio just over the George Washington Bridge that caters to the booming business of podcasting. They offer a comfortable atmosphere using the latest technology available to record your podcast. And they are a full-service media company offering both audio and video production services, creating both audio and video podcasts as well as video shorts for business and personal use. Professional audio equipment packages are available through their website for all budgets, and be sure to check out their podcast guesting kit, created specially for our listeners. Care for your health, care for the planet, and look flippin' great doing it. North Authentic is a conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. Their pro stylists curate only the most fabulous non-toxic hair products with better-for-you shampoos, serums, masks, and more that actually give you gorgeous hair without hurting your health or the planet. Hey, you've only got one life, one planet, and one glorious mane. Might as well treat them all as best you can, right? Try a 100% clean hair care routine prescribed just for you using their link in the show notes. If you don't see a big, beautiful difference in how your hair looks and feels, you can tell them they're crazy. Do you battle chronic pain, stress, anxiety, or depression? Well, if you take any supplements or you're interested in natural alternatives, you need to know about findyourhealthyplace.com. Find Your Healthy Place has thousands of supplements to help you live a better quality of life, as well as natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. Need guidance? Use their live chat feature and talk to a wellness consultant right on their website. And be sure to use our coupon code TAE Podcast for all your purchases to get the best prices at findyourhealthyplace.com. Follow their links in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
I do have repeat business, and I do my best to make sure that I do a great job.
Yes, they come back, sure.
Because they come back. But I am doing all kinds of outgoing stuff, and I reach out to major CEOs and people with 500 plus companies. We're talking Warren Buffett. We're talking people like Urban Magic Johnson as far as keynote speakers, and all the people like A speakers, like the companies that represent those speakers. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've gone to MMA fighters, and you know what I mean, and all the people from.
And an MMA fighter, what are you doing? Are you creating music song for like when they walk into the
for when they walk once, for
like Rocky.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. And so instead of them using some other, and they're usually using a hip hop thing or some kind of like
you're like you should have your own music.
But I'm giving them a possibility. Now, the other thing that we do, and then, this is another aspect of it. You can either tell a story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like very detailed story. Like, there's a guy, David Meltzer, who's out there. And, he makes it very, David Meltzer, yeah. So he makes it very obvious that he, at a certain point in his 20s, he made a couple $1 million. Then he lost it all. Then he made it again, and then he lost it. And then now he's got his trajectory that's doing very well for him. And he tries to give people that kind of confidence and knowing, not to be frightened that it could go down, that it can go up, but, trying to give you that whole sort of his whole background that's part of his experience that, educates you. So, you can tell all those stories, like that, and go into the ballad of that, the ballad of Walmart, the ballad of your company, and, be very specific. And to some extent, that might be only interested to the people, who are, Joe in accounting and this person in, human resources. Or whatever,
right.
And that's fine too. And it can be great for a year-end meeting, a conference or something like that, But the other way to do it is like a pop song. So, excuse me, when you're just talking metaphorically. So if you're going to do something for somebody who's doing finance, it's like fintech or something like that. If I'm going to do something, or somebody who is doing insurance, do you want to do something that's specific to those insurance policies, and their price points and the sort of drudging, everyday little bits of those things? Or do you want to talk about something like, the way you're in good hands with Allstate, or some sort of way of talking about the confidence, the feeling somebody gets when they do business with you. Right. And so all those things. So in a metaphorical way, just like a pop song, you write a song that doesn't even mention the name of your company, or could, but it's not like a jingle, but more like a song. It's a beautiful song that, you can use and almost sell it or put it on the radio. Even like that, Right. The quality is that good when I deliver it. And so, so you've got this song that's going to talk about, all those feelings of your core values. And so, and how people feel. So that's, another way I prefer it, but it's anybody's call who I'm working with as to which way we decide to go.
Now, what does a guy like David Meltzer, did you do work for him?
We're still in negotiation.
Yes. Oh, okay. So how would he use made to order music? He's like basically a speaker, right? He's a motivational guy, coach.
And he's got a foundation.
Is that a foundation?
So as well, I mean, there are other people I've worked with. I'm not going to name all of them who have foundations and stuff like that. So those people, you know what I mean, so there's like, a piece that can go for every day that, like I said, really hits their core values, hits what they're doing. And then if they're doing a specific keynote speech, then we can do something that really addresses that. Like for everyday use, any of these people. And like I say, the keynote speakers, most of them have a particular thing about mindset or about one thing or another. And that's how, we get to that. And that's the most important thing that people notice about you and know you for and hire you for. And what do people know can come to your company for? And, what's that about? And so, we do this in a certain way that, again, not necessarily a jingle. It might have your name in there, but it's not going to be 9, 6, 7, 8.
Right, of course.
I'm trying to get a little deeper than that, as well as just musically really lovely.
Yeah. Now, did you approach Meltzer's people or David Meltzer, or were you referred to him, or how'd you find him?
I approached them, and we've had conversations.
So you prospected him.
Yeah. So I prospected him because he was one of the keynote speaker people.
Right.
But it goes on. There are more people. I do events for other, special events for like weddings and stuff like that. And
right.
Wedding anniversaries. Those are the kind of things that definitely use the detail. Right. If you're
but are you prospecting like wedding planners and people like that?
Yes, exactly. So I've gotten to all the major event planners and wedding planners across the world. Now, of course, they took an incredible hit during,
for sure.
And are just getting back into doing either hybrid or doing live events.
Right.
But I definitely have, reached out to all of those people as well, because they're, right up my alley. And,
well, they're coming back. People starting to get married again,
no,
they were still getting married. They just weren't having big weddings or anything.
I attended a couple actually that were backyard weddings where I was on Zoom watching you.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Love doesn't stop, right?
Love doesn't stop.
Keeps going. Absolutely. Okay. So, but it sounds like your marketing strategy is more like you'll target a company or something like that, as opposed to like general advertising, right? Because that's probably not as productive.
Yeah, and it's probably more expensive, and as well. But I want it's the same as anything else. You get up 100 people, and only a certain percentage are going to get back to you, and then a certain percentage closes. This particular
right, of course.
But again, if you're doing this, the other thing is that again, for advertising, it usually takes 8 times for anybody to have any kind of recognition for you.
Right.
And so, you send these letters out and, or any other kind of way that you're doing.
Got to keep going. Yeah.
And I, of course, have a YouTube channel. I, of course, have a website to send people to. And when I do things like this or any other podcast that I do, I send out links when I've done this stuff so that people know that I'm doing these different things, and they can hear the interviews and get an idea of the process again through and a legitimacy of doing this with people like yourself,
right?
You know what I mean? Or when when I finish this, or I just did the thing for Podfest, like I said, in Orlando in May, so I made sure to get all the photos and stuff like that, and then did a little thing of my of the song that I did for them with all the stuff from the pictures of the event and the people who were there. So that there's something online, and then I can send it to all the clients and say, here's what I just did for these people. And when I do the Sports Show thing, in Monaco, there's all these 200 plus broadcasters, et cetera, and all these people, including the NBA and including the PGA and all these people. So I'm getting in front of them there, but I also have all the names of those people who are going to be going to that. So if I don't hear from them after I've done it, I can also also hit them up and every single one of those keynote speakers as well and
Right.
say, hi, I just did the thing for your event, and here's the link to the, again, if you don't remember the music, here's the link.
Right. And you got a little bit of a unique niche. I mean, how many guys are out there doing what you do from the business standpoint? Is there a lot? I mean,
I think there are some who are getting into it more and more, but I don't know, when I'm in certain circles, I'm doing a lot of the networking and stuff that I'm doing. I'm here, I'm doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a whole voiceover community. There's a couple of these websites, Voice 123 or Voice Jungle or whatever it's called. And you could hire people to do your voiceover for your answering machine or for whatever. Sure. But I didn't, I don't think people think about what you do, at least for entrepreneurs, like small business owners, Well, now, what's the creative process? Like if how long does it take to put a song together? I assume then you have to present it, right? And then they might want some changes or this and that. So how many clients can you take on it?
Yeah,
No,
it's not. Well, I mean, we usually take care of everything from the beginning. We have consultation.
Okay.
With one person.
So usually pretty accurate.
So we just, and we go to, again, talking about the core values, talking about how, or if we want that to change or anything like that. And then, just sort of have a confab, maybe once or twice to make sure that we know exactly what we're talking about and how we're going to go. And then I ask them specifically, do you want this to be? And they may say, I want it to be R&B. So, well, that's a very large thing. So I want it to be R&B that sounds like Ariana Grande. Well, in 2012 or this album. And then we get to this album from this year.
So you really narrow it down.
And then we go, well, there's 10 or 12 songs and they're all R&B and they're different. One has a pizzicato string in it. And another thing is old school, kind of vintage sounds and stuff like that. Let's figure out what we want. So usually it's down to a Taylor Swift song and a this song, or, a Bruno Mars or this, whatever. And it's like very specific. And I'm not going to copy. It's just there to, I want to be on the same playlist as that. So right. it educates and informs my way of writing it, the way I'm going to write a melody for it, the way the rhythms are going to be, how, I'm not going to get profane with an artist I made,
right?
Allow that kind of thing, but for a company, not necessarily. But there's a certain way of speaking in modern hip hop as opposed to a different style of music.
Right.
So if they're already saying I love that and I want to sound like this or that, I did some stuff with Brad Cardone, for instance, and his stuff is always about it's kind of the boss. And it's
right.
And it's always gangster rap kind of stuff,
okay.
in a certain way, and it's kind of just that feel because it has a kind of a certain thing that he
right.
wants to be associated in that sort of way, and so everybody else may have some other way that they're doing it. And when we choose that, then we have a way of keeping track of I know whether I'm getting near the mark. And I know that I'm going to be happy and you're going to be happy because we're going, I know when I haven't reached it and when I have.
So you basically work them through the whole process all the way down the ladder until you're pretty sure that you're close to what it is that they're looking for.
And then I do it. And then I go back and I'm either writing with another person or by myself.
Right.
But I got again, Grammy-nominated songwriters here in Nashville that I can work with as a co-writer, for instance. And then we go and do that. And then I, do tracks for it and get all that together. And then I find the best possible talent that's very specific to that style and, that musical style, and it's going to really represent the song well. And so find those people and record them and, tune them and do all those things that's beautiful, and then
right.
Mix and master the thing, and then get it back to the client. And,
right.
So it's pretty much that process every time.
But it's an involved process. So how many projects are you working on at any given time?
Well, I can be working on a few, 2 or 3 or 4 at the same time. It's a matter of it usually takes, maybe a week to get the song written. I often say, 2 or 3 weeks.
After you've taken them through the process.
Yeah, after we've had the meetings and said, here's what it's going to be. And I'm usually coming up like with an idea, because that's how sort of usually songwriting is in a session. You know what I mean? Where you're sitting with other people.
Right. Things occur to you.
You know,
right.
Things occur, and hey, this could be the title. What do you think of this title? Or, you know, if I'm going to meet with them the next day, I'm already, you know, scouring through all of their media and going, hey, I've got 3 ideas for titles. What do you think of this? And I mean,
Right.
Thinking it could be, this is hitting me like this kind of song. That. What do you think of that?
Got
and
it.
if somebody comes, you know, if I do get lucky enough to say work with a Warren Buffett who's in his 80s now, maybe,
Yeah.
and he likes, say, 30s swing jazz, which I could do something. You know, I would still recommend that maybe there's a trap beat or some sort of, you know, modern kind of thing there, because pop music is about 4 to 94 months.
Right. You want to appeal to a larger audience.
So you want his grandkids or his great grandkids to go, you know, I love, you know, Papa, I love what do you call it? I love your theme song, the one with your website that you have. So, you know, so I may, you know, do something that's like, you know, a swing jazz thing or something like that, you know, that maybe has a clarinet in it or something like that. But I might put a hip hop beat underneath it just to, you know, and a rapper in it or something like that, just to make it modern and something that's, you know, forward thinking, you know, future thinking, because that's something. And again, I would discuss that beforehand just to make sure
of course.
that that's cool with the people who I'm, you know, doing that. And it can go with, you know, especially podcasters, but anybody else can do a theme song doesn't have words. So it could be an instrumental as well, which still requires, you know, them thinking about a particular style of music and their favorite song in that way.
Of course.
Because that's your brand, and you want it to be something that, you know, you feel represents you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if they like heavy metal, that's cool too. You know, if they like, you know, all those different things. If they want a classical kind of piece that, you know, that I'm well studied in, that I can do something that, you know, again, when they come on a keynote or something like that, and they want something that sounds more stately and classical, I can do that as well. You know, all kinds of samples of great things.
Now, since you don't really work for anybody, you're an entrepreneur. You're on your own. You're looking for your own business. What do you find the most challenging about being on your own, about running your own business, especially in the music industry?
Well, I mean, like any entrepreneur, just doing it all yourself. I mean, I don't mind doing the stuff where I'm writing the song, doing all the tracks, you know, hiring the talent, doing all the mixing and mastering. That's all, you know, that's a job in itself. But when you have to go to all those, and I only mentioned a few of the places that I'm marketing to, but when you have to have a cycle per month or every while and going to all those people, you know what I mean, and doing that sort of stuff, because not all of it just works on MailChimp or, you know, automation, because, you know, with musicians, it's like some of them are on Facebook or some of them are on their websites and some of them are on email. So you can't get it all into one place and have, you know, a coordinated send and stuff. So just that kind of stuff, and having to keep on all of it. Sometimes
keeps the pipeline full, right? So you're always making pitches and working them at some point, right? Chasing them down.
Yeah. And also, you know, writing new, you know, when you are doing that, they're all new, you know, obviously new emails and new little pitches and stuff like that. So, you know, so that's not, you know, the thing that I fear, but it's just having enough time in the day to be able to do that. So I find, you know, that the music part of it is, you know, has improved in a certain way, because I'm so focused when I get to it, you know, after doing all this other entrepreneurship stuff. That, you know what I mean? Wow. It's like,
you're just happy to be there, right?
And you know, and I'm focused, and it comes together really quickly that way. You know, so that's a good thing.
Interesting. So do you see yourself doing more of the made-to-order music company? You want to still grow that, or you're going to stick with more composing, or it's kind of a mix?
I think it's going to mix.
You like them both?
And I think they're going to feed each other, because, like I say, I'm writing pop songs anyway. And there is another thing that we may mention here in terms of the process. You know, as far as contractually concerned, the people who get these songs can use them in every single way they want, you know, anywhere, in any way they want, including selling it, like I say, putting it on the radio.
Oh, they have a full unlimited license. They own it.
They own it. You know what I mean? Like, it might be a license that we might
perpetual.
add to get to use that, or it's bumped up in the price to include all of those things. That's one thing. But I still own it as well.
Yeah, it was your work.
I cannot use it for another business, if it's for a business, or if it's for a convention. That's the proviso, is that I can't, use it for that again, but I can put it in a movie. But the artist who is singing the song can put it out, and we can sell it there. And if it happens to go big, or, for instance, it's a great song and I pitch it to another company like Def Jam Records or whatever, and Rihanna wants to do it.
Right.
I mean, imagine how that's going to look on your company when, it comes out on the radio. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Right. And it's going to be good if it gets in a movie, for a placement in the sync license thing.
Right.
For me, I'll be getting, that comes to me, not to the company.
So a performer could maybe use it, not another business.
Yeah, exactly. That's just,
or you can use it for promotional purposes for your
all I want. So I'm holding on to it there. So it's does get a longer life for me, but in that way it does enhance the life for the people who have it. For their business.
Yeah. So here's a good legal question. So how do you control all that? Who writes your contracts? Have you done them yourself? Because your business is all intellectual property. Right. You have to protect your own properties. So you write the contract and you provide them to them to sign. So they. Yeah. Yeah. It's part of your engagement.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's part of my engagement. It's part of just like, it's part of what I tell them. It doesn't even have to be necessarily a contract if it's agreed upon on the phone, or if it's agreed upon after in an email. That's already been proven as proof of ownership or whatever before, as far as like, intellectual property. If it's been sent in an email and they agree, I say, please just get back to me and say, do you agree to all of this?
Right. Please confirm. Sure.
Please confirm. That is fine. It doesn't have to go deeper than that.
Right.
And we've already talked or had a handshake if it happens to be in the same city, and and we go from there. But I do put that down, right from the beginning, so everybody knows. And if that's a problem and they want to buy me out, it's going to be a lot more money.
Any issues with past clients that violated any agreement? No. Not
well,
yet.
They're not going to be violating anything because I'm giving them a free rein. I'm the one, I would be
right. You would be the one violating, right?
If they were worried about it from the other way, I would be the one violating if I actually used it for another company. So,
right.
So I'm not going to do that. And I want, good relationships with all these people. And when they, decide to do a new version of their song, or they, change their business a bit, or expand or do something and maybe change what their business is about, I can do their next theme song.
And how does the pricing of the process work? Is there a fee for figuring it out, and then it's based on the length of the song? It's a
little different for an instrumental and for just a little bit less than if I'm writing lyrics for the whole thing.
Right.
Because those lyrics, like I said, become, part of your brand name slogans, etc. But there's a little bit of a difference between it. And I must admit that I do, there's a difference between, say, a solopreneur hiring me for this,
right,
and a person who has a 500 plus company,
right? Because they have more resources too.
They have more resources, and plus the fact that they would, they expect to pay, and most of those companies, because what I'm really offering is what any kind of branding or ad agency would be doing. And so an ad agency to do what I'm doing would cost you millions for a year to hold them in your back pocket. And then they would hire me for all these thousands of dollars, etc., to do this, to write the song, stuff like that, as part of, and they would still be taking a fee for, ancillary
they mark it up.
To mark it up to be able to get beyond what they're hiring me for to do, to give to the client. There's still, for just the fact that they're there and calling me to do this would be like, et cetera. So I am doing this for, pretty much offering what that is, a whole advertising thing. Because like I say, you're getting these, 2-second things that you're using in a different place, on your phone. And you're getting these slogans.
No, it's like getting new logos and stuff for your company. It's the same type of thing.
I mean, it's a huge branding part. So, I think I'm doing a large service for people.
Sure, absolutely.
I know I am.
Yeah, of course. All right, so we're coming to the end. So tell me, if somebody wants to learn more about you, get a hold of you, connect with you, how would they do it? It's the best way to reach you on social media or something.
They can reach me at howiemoscovitch.com, which is my.
Okay.
They can go to Howie Moscovitch. I think it's Howie Moscovitch Music at YouTube. There's a channel there. They can just put my name into Google and all kinds of things will come up. And they can go to howiemoscovitch@gmail.com and reach out to me directly.
Very good. Well, Howie, I can't thank you enough. If you have any last minute advice, share it now to anybody who's listening. And I know it's late on a Friday afternoon, so I appreciate you spending time sharing your story.
Thanks for having me plant your seeds early.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moscovitch and made to order music. For more information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@bindhackerlaw.com. The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Bindhacker and produced by Bindhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at bindhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.